This week's topic is why you should not overthink your book title, because I see people doing this a lot. So when you are doing a book title, right, obviously you know what topic it is. And by the way, this isn't Ask Me Anything Live. So in the comments, you'll see you can put any questions you have about writing and publishing. And then I'm going to do a little short 5-minute topic, and then I'll answer any questions that are in the comments below. So make sure you put any questions you have. No question is too small, short, complicated, or simple. Just write your writing or publishing questions in the comments. So for book titles, right? I see a lot of people like overthinking their book titles. So last week we talked about not to pick a book title that is mysterious, right? We want to pick something that is catchy and not mysterious. So this week we're going to talk about not overthinking your book title, because I see my clients do this a lot. So how I go about when I pick my book titles is I'm looking at, obviously, like, right, what is the topic of my book? I need to figure that out first, because if I figure out that, obviously I know what the topic of my book is because I'm writing it. And then what I typically do is, as I'm writing my book, I will have a sheet of titles that I think I want to use. And so I write them down, and I look on Amazon and I see what titles other authors are using. So obviously, because I don't want to pick the same one, right? So you could pick something similar, but you don't want to pick something that's so similar, it's going to get confused with another book title that's already been published. And just because it's on Amazon doesn't mean that's all the books that are published, but many, many of the books that are published are on Amazon. So I look on Amazon to see what other titles are in the same genre that I have. And so so that way I know not to pick the same one. And they say, what is my book really about? Like, what is the purpose of my book? Why am I writing this book? Who am I talking to? Right. And based on those questions, I want to pick words that are going to resonate with my avatar that's going to be reading the book. Okay. Because I'm not writing the book for me. I'm writing the book for someone else. And what would that person be looking for? Right. And you can do polls on your social media or polls on your email list and say, hey, I'm writing a book. Like, what are some words or phrases that really resonate with you when you're thinking about solving the pain point of XYZ, right? Because typically, if you're writing a nonfiction book, it's solving a pain point for somebody. So you need to figure out, what is that pain point that you're solving, and what keywords or phrases go along with that. And you want to use those in your title. Right now, obviously, you don't have to use like every keyword or phrase you think about in your title, because your title is going to be way too long. But you want to pick some things that are going to resonate and be catchy, have a catchy title, right? That resonate with your avatar, because you don't want to pick something that, like we said last week, is really crazy or outside of the box, and so outside of the box, like no one's going to get it. So, but what I see people do is they'll pick titles and they're like, well, I don't know which one to do. I don't know, like, which one's going to be the best. So what I always recommend is now it's going to be different for your title and your subtitle, right? So I always recommend to people, take your title and put it on social media and do a poll of different titles, right? So you can tell people, I'm thinking of these 4 titles for my book. Which one do you like the best and why? And ask them why. So have them pick one and then say in the comments below, tell me why you like that one the best. That way you can see which one people like the best. So I do this also when I'm making a new podcast, and I have a new podcast cover for myself. So my last podcast that I made, I had 4 different covers that I really liked, and I couldn't decide between them because they were the basic same design. They just had different like photos of a mom and a daughter in there. And I wasn't sure. Well, like, I had one I liked the best, but I didn't know if that's what would resonate with people who were actually going to listen to the podcast or watch the podcast on YouTube. So I put it on my social and I said, hey, here are 4 covers. This is the topic of my podcast. Which one do you feel like you like the best? And overwhelmingly, everybody picked this one cover, which I think I can't remember if it was the one I actually chose, but polls are a great way to find out which titles are going to work the best, or which podcast covers, or like whatever covers, right? Graphics are going to work the best. Or you can do that also for book covers, right? You can take your different book covers. We do this a lot in my writers group that I'm in. And it's all writers who write for a living. And we post it. We have a closed private Facebook group, and we post our covers and be like, hey, which ones do you like the best, and why do you like those? And so people will pick which one they like the best. And we usually put like an A, B, C, or D. And then when they tell us why. So don't overthink it. Don't keep going, oh my gosh, I don't know which title to pick, right? So pick 4 that you like, that really talk to the avatar. Remember, they need to speak to the person who's reading your book, right? Not just to you, but to the person who's reading the book. And honestly, I would rather pick a title that I wasn't really great. Like I was like, okay, this is an okay title, but everybody else really liked. I would pick that for my book over my preference any day of the week because I know that's the one that people that I want to buy the book are going to be excited about, right? So if I'm excited about it, that's great. But I'm not buying, hundreds of copies of my book. My avatars are going to be doing that. So I want to make sure that I am picking or choosing a title that they really love. And then you can do the same thing with your subtitle, right? So like based on the title that you get on your poll. So say people pick like the second title that you chose. And then you take that poll and you take that second title and then you think of like, hey, what would be great subtitles for this title, right? And AI can come in really handy at this point. The only thing you want to do is double check to make sure AI is not choosing a subtitle that is already out there because that I've seen that people do that before. And it will also choose a title that's already out there because it's really popular because a lot of people use it. And obviously you don't want to choose a subtitle someone else has chosen. So if you want to use AI and say, hey, here's a title for my book, this is who my avatar is, right? It's like females ages 25 to 35 who, work in corporate and they do consulting jobs. And this is the title for my nonfiction book. Can you please suggest some subtitles that would appeal to this avatar, right? Or obviously whoever your avatar is. So that's really important that you can use AI as a tool for that, but obviously double check to make sure that there's nothing that's already picked. And typically, if I use AI for a tool like that, I don't use what AI exactly gives me. I take it and reuse it and retool it and rework it to something a little bit different that I feel is more appealing. And then I might have a couple options from that. And then you can say, hey, here's my title and subtitle. This is the title I'm going with. Please tell me which subtitle you like better and why. Okay. And have like maybe 2 or 3 subtitles. I probably wouldn't go with 4 subtitles because that might be too much. Titles are different, but subtitles can be a little lengthy. And I wouldn't go with 4 subtitles if I'm doing a poll because people might get overwhelmed and not choose. So that's what I recommend. Don't overthink what you're going to put out there, my friends. It's really hard to think about like all the options that people are going to choose. And honestly, in the end, sometimes people choose something you have no idea that's going to be popular, right? That's kind of the whole thing with being a creative. We create all these amazing pieces of content. Sometimes I put stuff out there and think, oh my God, this is going to be so popular. And it's not, and vice versa. And sometimes I put stuff out there and I think, oh, this is okay. But like I don't know that it's going to be that popular and it gets hundreds of views. So and sometimes I get it right, but you just never know what people are going to pick. So don't pick for other people. Don't pick for your avatar. Have your avatar pick for you. That's the easiest way to do it. And for you to be confident in the title and subtitle that you picked for your book is going to be the one that's going to appeal to the people who are going to buy your book. And then you don't have to sit there and worry and fret and think about it for months. What is going to be the best title for my book? So I hope this has been really helpful on how you can choose a title for your book by using polls so that you don't have to sit there and ruminate about it and put off, formatting or publishing your book because you can't pick a title that you like for your book. So remember, once you have some titles that you like, put it in a poll, right? And make sure it's in a poll in a place where people are going to read your book. Don't poll your family and friends. I mean, you can poll your friends if they're your avatar, but don't just go and poll your family and friends because typically that does not work. That's really hard because they're not the person who's going to be buying your book. I mean, they might buy your book to support you, but they're not going to be ultimately the person that comes across your social media posts and buy your book. So make sure it's their avatar that you're polling. You give them some choices. That way you're confident in knowing that the title of the book you picked is the right title. So I haven't seen any questions this week for AMA. Please come back next week. I'd love to hear your other questions. We'll have another topic to talk about on Ask Me Anything. And then I'll also have some questions that people are asking me that I will answer. I hope you're having a wonderful start to your week, my friends and future authors. Make sure you come back here every week at 9:05 Pacific, 12:05 Eastern if you're on lunch break on the East Coast. And I'd love to have you be my guest on my Ask My Anything. Have a fabulous week, everyone, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.